That's what it was. There we go. Forgot to add. All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Midway. Hello. Oh, well, why not? Let's bring up. Oh, look at that XRP. This is a 1-minute chart, and I was flirting with, by the way, just XRP. This is all-time highs right there at 340. And as usual, when we get to something like this, nobody wants to be the person who actually prints the high. I think we were half a cent away right there. What is that? Yep, half a cent away from 340. And so the price was just knocking up here for 10, 15 minutes. These are minute candles again, you guys. And this is kind of how these things behave. It gets near that point, and then people start to bail. People were maybe expecting a breakout, and so you've got a lot of short-term leveraged money. But let's scale out here a little bit. I'll start talking about XRP, no problem, until anybody else wants to talk about something. But here's our chart, and this is the story right there in one snapshot. It's spent many years down here between 40 and 60 cents, and all of a sudden the election and the crypto market came alive with a new friendly administration, and many other things, including the SEC lawsuit was dropped. And matter of fact, they actually still tried something yesterday, but the market's not having any of it. They're moving on from Gary Gensler's SEC, who's stepping down on Monday. So this is all-time highs, 340. Now we've spent 2.5 days getting here. I don't expect this type of level to be taken out and held. It'll probably be taken out and a lot of stops are run, maybe up to 360, but we might see the mother of all reversals back down, to 315, 3. It's just the nature of price action. It doesn't go up forever. And as we look at this chart, I'll let people know, I'm literally applying the same indicators that I'll be talking about with stocks that I am to crypto here in XRP, because price action is just a gauge of the human crowd and fear and greed. You got a lot of greed here, then you get some fear down here, and people can't take it anymore because they're underwater because they chased it. So there's so many stories going on in price action, but the point is it doesn't go straight up forever. And what these lines tell me is this is the 10 SMA. You'll hear me talk a lot about that this hour if you're new. I use that on my daily charts and my 15-minute chart. The 10 SMA is the guiding hand of momentum. Once something is ripping, like we have now, we are in a ripping momentum mode. So this was momentum mode 1.0 back here, and it was guided by the 10 SMA. Eventually, and always eventually, that will break down, and it broke down. So then I added the 50 SMA, which is more of a broader general bill of health. And as you can see, it didn't get close, didn't want to touch. A very strong indicator there that we couldn't even get the price action to touch and get the algos to switch. The 50-day SMA was defended heavily, in hindsight, even more so. And so now we've spent 3 days shooting up. And what I was getting at is, don't be surprised if the price action does pull back, but what are we going to be watching for? We're now in momentum mode 2.0, second chapter of momentum. So this line is now our target. Okay, we could do something like this. That would be ideal. I'll take that. Great, midway. Let's take me away from crypto and away from TradingView. And we can come back to that if anybody wants to. Excuse me. Good question. Welcome, everybody. Let's see. I want to make sure we've also got, we've got some people over on X watching. If you're over on X and you want to come to the Trade Ideas YouTube channel, just do so and click into the live streams, and you can ask questions because I'm not monitoring the X feeds. So Midway asks, can you explain more about tree maps and what determines A, how many stocks are shown in the tree map, and B, what color they are, and how big the stock rectangles relative to each other? Well, working backwards first, the biggest ones that you see are, we call this a heat map. It's called we call it a tree map. 17.4% is the biggest winner of the lot. So they get the biggest square in the darkest color. We just popped over here. There's only 2 alerts on the downside, and we're looking for downsides. I'll talk about that. GGAL is bigger. It's down 2.4%. So to the downside, it's a bigger quadrant than negative 1.33 since we're focusing on downside. So whatever the bigger value is, the biggest will get the biggest size. And we cannot necessarily determine how many. Let's see. When we go to tree map, it's basically a toggle. But it's a toggle off of this. This is what we call a top list. And as you can see, the top list runs very deep. And it's hard for us to kind of monitor this spreadsheet view and see who's moving up and who's moving down. And yeah, we can sort by, who's got the biggest change from the open, et cetera, biggest change from the close, biggest short float. There we go. This one is actually sorted by short float. But I don't want to do that. I want to put the sort back on change from the open, because I believe once I do that and then I turn the tree map on, that gives us that new look. Perfect. Now you asked, can we control how many are in here? No, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 across the bottom. If I open it up, I could bring more. Let's see. Am I bringing in more names? Yeah, I guess I am. So it kind of can. No, maybe not. Upstart is the bottom, and it keeps showing me Upstart at the bottom right. So scratch that. You cannot change the amount based on the size of the window. So you're kind of stuck with what you get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And there might be a max cutoff of 20 or 25. I'm not really sure. You said sound, Bill. I'm pretty sure I can hear me. How many stocks are shown? So we went over that. It's relative to, see this one over here, if we go to turn off the tree map, we only have a top list of 1 symbol. So that is what is determining how many are in the tree map. You might notice these drop downs. I don't like to use these drop downs. For some reason, they just complicate things. But what I have over here is just a simple scan that looks for stocks that are strong, but are pulling back at least 25% over the last period. I also have one that I like, and we can open that. They're going to update about as fast as the top lists do. So they don't all do it at once, but every individual stock will have its own individual refresh time. Might be 5 seconds difference from the other, but it'll be 30-second increments. So you're usually going to get a 30-second increment on the new symbol, but every symbol is updating on their own increments. Pull back to the 10 SMA. This is another one I like. And matter of fact, I'm going to do something. I'm going to return this to my default layout. I like this one more. And so just bear with me for a second. I'm going to turn off something I don't want to see. The sort menu, that's gone now. Okay. Turn that on. Got it nice and clean the way I want it. Go OCD and start with the cues. Now I'm locking in a new layout. I'm just saying, go ahead and make this my new starting layout. So now I've always got this one. Pull back to the 10 SMA. These are stocks that have been moving up over the last 30 days, 10 days, but they're pulling back and touching their 10 SMA, which can be an entry. I think Andy might have sent somebody in here who was looking for some trading ideas. And one of the first things I can say to somebody who's been struggling, I'll go back to XRP. If you're somebody who just heard about XRP from your friend in a text and you pull up a chart and you buy your initial entry right here, well, you're just asking for a pullback, a breath at some point. You've literally bought the high end. There's more air in the lungs than we can probably take. There might be a little bit more, but more often than not, I want to get new traders to immediately ditch the idea of chasing, of chasing new highs after it's already run 2 or 3 days, only because it feels safe. What I want people to do is find ideas that have been strong and, recognize consolidation. Sideways consolidation is always the strongest. And then find a good risk reward entry. As I mentioned earlier, the 50 SMA could have been a great entry for people who were looking for pullbacks. in a move like that. But first and foremost, any new trader, if you are establishing a brand new position on a chart that looks like this, whether it's stock or crypto, you're going to learn real fast that it's no fun to be the person pulling back. And then you might ask yourself, wow, who was that person that waited and laid in wait and for the 10 SMA to touch the pullback of the price? And they bought my shares. When I panicked here, they bought my shares. Who was that person? Well, that's the person you want to be. All right. So if that was you, Hutch, I'll start off by saying right off the bat, that's a mentality it's hard to develop because it's being contrarian. You know, if you're identifying something that's been strong like this, you know, maybe 3 days of sell-off is just a perfect amount of patience before the 10 SMA, which is my favorite indicator, that identifies an area of momentum that might be an inflection point that you can take advantage of and have very good risk reward, meaning low pain. Low pain being the opposite of somebody who is fear of missing out, FOMO, and chases a stock chart that looks like that. So right off the bat, with that said, that's why I created this scan. Stocks that are strong. Let's go through them. What does strong mean? Well, it means in the last 10 days, it's up 4% minimum. Decent volume average, decent volume today, minimum price $5. However, after being up at least over the last 10 days, today it's down 1%. We use a minimum 1 there to say, show me stocks that are at least 1% down or worse. And then real quickly, here's the kicker. The change from the 10 SMA. So we have a filter that identifies, and that's why trade ideas are so powerful, because we're constantly monitoring like a police scanner any change, and we will bring that change to your attention once it happens. Unlike a screener, like FinViz, where you put everything in and then you click enter, and then you have this static response that just sits there and does nothing. Totally different than what trade ideas is. So what we want to know is these stocks that are down 1%, which ones are sitting here at 0.25% below to 0.25% above? Now that's kind of a wide bracket that I've given this called a cloud around the 10 SMA. But that's the concept and the idea of this tree map. And right now it's only giving me 2 ideas. Sure, I'll share anything we talk about. So right off the bat, once I've shown what's under the hood, Dylan's going to ask for it, and anybody else can have it by me sharing the actual config. And I'll drop that in there and call that, well, it's titled when you open it, but pullback to 10 SMA. Some days it's quiet, some days it's loaded. It just kind of depends on what the market's doing. Now, if we move over here to this tree map, there's a lot going on. So let's do the same thing. Let's look under the hood. You're welcome. Let's look under the hood and see there's not much going on over in this one. But what is going on is stocks that are, forget the composite rating. I'm basically opening up the spigot to show me all bad and good ratings alike. It doesn't matter. But here's the kicker. Anything that's got a short float in our database of 20% or higher and actually does a minimum of 250,000 shares a day, I'd like to know about those stocks. Now, nothing on here says pull it up and buy it. What it says is pull it up and evaluate it, because these stocks are of interest. Now, if we were to like say each one of these stocks, are they in a sideways consolidation? Are they in an uptrend? Are they in a downtrend? Where are they? Because I want to avoid stocks that are in downtrends because the short sellers are winning. But what we're trying to find is a stock chart the short sellers are beginning to lose their grip on. And if it breaks higher, they start losing money quickly because new longs are chasing it with shorts who want to get out and stop the bleeding. That's called a short squeeze. And those can be fun, short-lived moments. As I pull these up, notice over here, the data point, 30%. Well, APLD is at the top. It satisfies the short float, but the reason it's at the top is because it's up 14% from the open. So what we want to do is we look at this and we say, well, this is kind of interesting. If I'm a short seller, I certainly don't want to lose, what's been happening here. The trend and the channel suggests it should go lower. However, this is how you use this scan. You say, all right, let me look at $10 here. It looks like every time it gets above 10, the short sellers win. They pull it back down. There. If we get back above 10, I want to know about it, and it could become a trade. So all I have to do is right click, price at 10, and I'm going to tell myself in bold letters 30% short, so I remember why I set this alert. So now I can set it and forget it and move away, do emails, do whatever. But if this thing pops up, a window will pop up and I won't miss it. And I might want to play this. Oh, one more thing of interest. It had earnings right here. So it came down. What if after earnings, it turns around and the short sellers are wrong? I'm going to actually literally use this as a setup for myself, you guys. I will probably participate if I see this thing, only because I know there's a myriad of shorts just possibly under possible pain. All right, let's move on. EOSE. Well, this is a really good looking chart. However, maybe somebody like Hutch, if I was watching this, maybe I want to just look for good pullback entries. Now you can see it broke through the 10 SMA. Well, that's why I use a 20. And I call the 20 the backstop. And in many cases like this one, the backstop, albeit kind of sluggish, it did hold. And so when you start flipping upside down and looking for stocks that have been moving up, but being patient and hitting them after 3, 4, 5 days of pullback at an area that makes sense, I like to use moving averages. Using these as your entry can be so much more joyful than using these as your entry up here. Anything that's got a lot of distance between the price and the 10 SMA, it's just an air pocket waiting to be filled, and it usually waits for you to buy it before it does so. So that's really what I tell all struggling or new traders that are just looking to maybe retool, is start thinking like that. Let's move on here. We can look at another QSI. Oh, that's a good name. That's what that thing's been in the news or been in play, but boy, it's volatile. It's all over the place. 21% short float. But it's actually doing something of interest, and that brings up time to talk about this blue line on my 15-minute chart. This is a 5-day moving average. So rather than use a 5-day moving average and clutter my daily chart up, Brian Shannon taught me 130 SMA on a 15-minute chart gives you a smoothed out 5-day moving average. It's perfectly divisible by 130. And that becomes a general line of interest for me intraday. And I notice a lot of correlations. And it usually can kind of tell me when the tide has turned. Resistance there, resistance there. Well, it backed up here and then shot through. And as you kind of want to see, it pulls back, and this is just the icing. That's the golden icing right there. What was once resistance of the 5-day moving average now acts as support, and now it's popped back above. So this one actually looks kind of good. You know, if I was a day trader, you know, maybe I would have been on my ball and been watching it down here or here. So the point being is this is a list of ideas. It's not telling you to pull it up and buy it now, but I like to run it through my lens of simple indicators. And then, of course, you know, when this 5-day moving average starts to flatten out, that's also kind of a good sign. So all I use on this 15-minute chart is a 10 SMA and that 130. And again, I can share these settings directly with anybody who wants it. Where'd it go? There we go. Copy. Paste, that's my chart. 15. What type of setups do you look for during bear markets? Great question. Let's pull up a scan, because I'm looking for the exact opposite. I'm looking for, let's assume that we're in a bear market. I'm looking for things like this. Just licking my chops right there. My 10 SMA, look at how it was once supportive, is now rejective. Rejected. So I would maybe look for a nice little tickle, and what I would do is I would set my price alert right there at 40. And short idea, And the point being here is just like the flipped upside down of what I was talking about earlier for people who were chasing price. If you're going to be a short seller, do not be this short seller. I mean, it worked that time, but you've already created so much distance in 2 or 3 days. You're lucky if you continue to stay short. You want to look for those dead cat bounces, 2 or 3 days, 4 days, perfect. And maybe even a rejection at the end of the day. You see a little rejection and it pops back down and closes near lows at the end of the day. That would be me licking my chops for a short sell in a bear market. So midway, that's the way I would answer that question for sure. Now let's look at a scan. I kind of teased you on that. I think I called it slam into the 130. So I just talked about with that 130 slam into the 50. Let's look at that. That gives us a daily. I'll look at the history and we can evaluate them now. Okay. What I'm going to be focusing on before I start pulling these up is this blue line right here. I had mentioned when I was talking about crypto that, let's check in on crypto. Yeah, that this blue line was the sign of the 50-day moving average, the sign of general health. If the stock is going to stay healthy, it's going to stay above the 50. So just like crypto, we're talking about these. Before I tease you again, let's look at, there's a lot of stuff going on in here. So new high on the day. However, looks like I've optimized this. All these 0.99s, I've ran that through an optimizer. That's a whole other subject. But change in 5 days, percent, that's kind of a value that I came up with back testing. Price value, change from the 50, here it is. So I want to see stocks that are making new highs, a position in 10-day range. That was optimized as well. But this is the key value right here, 0.1% above and 0.1% below as it bounces up into the 50. So I said, pay attention to that blue line. Here we go. So, I want to see stocks in downtrends. I want to see things that are, yes, Hutch, I'll finish this thought because it actually is talking about the 50-day moving averages. This scan is looking for stocks that have bounced up, that are weak to start with, and they bounced up into the 50. And these are ideas for shorts, even though it says new high green. I'm going to try and find the perfect one that looks really good. This one bled through, so we can't really look at that one. See, that's an early warning down here. Okay, this one's good. Below the 50 and it's falling lower. Still haven't found one that I really like the look of yet, though. Well, again, that's kind of it went through, like I said, and then failed and then closed back down below at. So this is a scan that you could use to short stocks. So that's an example I would give you midway, and I can even share this. It's just the concept. Again, same concept. Bull market, we're buying strong stocks on pullbacks to give us a better chance to not get shaken out. Short selling, we don't want to be the one short selling brand new lows. We want to be the one who faded that bounce before it rolled over. And then as a bonus, like maybe if it does go to lows and you've already been short for 2 or 3 days, you get to pile on and throw gas on the fire and add to that trade as it goes through lows, and then flip around and start looking to take profits. But that's how I can't stress that type of mentality enough, only because I know what it's like to be, a new trader or not know what's going on. You want to just kind of chase the action, like rum right here. Oh my God, rum's going. I should buy it. No, I'm already in it. When did I buy it? I bought it this morning. Why did I buy it? Because it broke through my 5-day moving average I was just talking about. I had been playing it back here, and I bought off that 10-day, worked for a couple of days, and then it broke, and I got out. And I've just been kind of, it hasn't really done much. But today was the first day in a while that rum, look at that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, the 5-day moving average is kind of like the 50 on the daily. But to me, the 5-day on the 15-minute is just a good general bill of health. And once it breaks through, look how it pulled back, it broke through, pulled back and pounded on it and tested it. Just like I said, what was prior resistance becomes current support. And then to answer your question, Hutch, the 10 period SMA on the 15-minute chart says, oh, I got it. I'll take over. Guess what? We're in momentum mode now. And we just can't get back below this 10 SMA. So that's why I use only these two indicators. The more simpler you can keep it. There's nothing wrong with VWAP. Don't get me wrong. I look at it sometimes. I like anchored VWAP as well. How would I look at this? So I'd look at this anchor here on the daily chart. So I want to know, I literally want to know, I'm in this trade. Where is the upside resistance? There it is. Oh, not bad. So back from the high, there's some wiggle room up here. We can cruise up to, there's a lot of volume back up here pushing. The volume died off, low volume pullback. So the volume weighted average anchored to the high and RUM is telling me, hey, we can really get going here. And as a bonus, if we close below the 10-day simple moving average, that's even better. So two indicators for me on the 15, and I did share my chart earlier. You're welcome to open that and use it. The 10 SMA tells me if momentum is intact, it's not intact here. It's not intact. It's not intact. All of a sudden, ooh, it broke through this level of interest, the 5-day, pulled back and tested it again. Now it's off to the races, and it's back in momentum mode. So it's either in momentum mode or upside or downside, or it's in consolidation mode. So that's the answer to your question, Hutch. 10-day and the 10 SMA, whether it's the daily or the 15-minute. This is my time frame as a swing trader now. The 10 is always going to be my momentum line. So if the 10 is guiding it up or pushing it down as a short, you're in momentum mode. The only other mode is non-momentum, and that's where I kind of wait to have this 50-day on the daily or this 5-day intraday, even more so, kind of tell me when something significant might be changing or happening at that area. ARGT just came through, so it's a stock that's weak and tapping the 10 SMA. This actually probably isn't a bad one. Yeah, it's trying to come out of a downtrend. Nice big bottoming saucer. I'd hate to be the guy who bought here at 1375 and you just been sitting 3 or 4 days of pain, and now all of a sudden you can't take it anymore. There's the gap is filled, the alert went off. It's sitting down here. So what would I do? Well, if I jump in here, I'm guessing, because if I'm wrong, it's just going to keep going down to here. So what do? I wait and I watch my favorite indicator, the 10 SMA. As soon as I get a closing green candle above a 10 SMA here on this 15 time frame, that tells me all systems might be go for a pullback buy. And maybe I can ride this up through 14. And as it breaks through 14, all the people who are chasing it, I'm now selling to. So that's about as broad as a picture as I think can help people. How do you add the 10 and 50? Sure. So let me go ahead and show you. If you go to the daily chart, all you want to do is right click and go to indicator. And your first selection is moving average SMA. And then your period will be 20. And then you can color it however you want. I colored mine kind of dark green. And then once you add that, you go back and redo the same thing, indicators. And then you go back and add the 50. And I think I just used the base default color, that dark blue, for 50. So I used both of that color on my 15-minute and daily because it's the same color, signifies the same thing. Kind of a brick wall, a level of interest. If I'm on the wrong side of that wall, I'm on the wrong side of the current. If I'm on the right side of that wall, it helps me stay patient and stay on the right side of the current. Are there certain sectors that I avoid? I'll tell you what, they start to bug me. The mining stocks, I have been avoiding those like the plague. I tried the riots and the Maras. Look at these daily charts. They just go nowhere. And the huts and the ciphers, they've done nothing, you know. And then we look back to like the nano nukes. I had a great run with them back in the fourth quarter, NNE and Oklo, but they have since consolidated and they've kind of dropped back in and they're in the tangled web now of the moving averages. And then we had the qubits, we had the quantum stocks go absolutely bonkers. And then they basically, people figured out these things are up 400%. It was like overnight, they all got absolutely decimated. QSI, we talked about that one. They come and they go. I don't like biotechs. I won't hold biotechs overnight because I've been hurt too many times with bad news. Right. This is always fun to do. We can look at stocks, and it's always nice when you tell me what's going on. You're in it with a current average of 11. A lot of support. Okay. So I see a real inflection. I mean, there's a lot going on here. There's a pattern. We're painting ourselves into like a corner here. So that's going to be one obvious resolution, and that's going to be the other. So aside from the moving averages and whatnot, just keep an eye on that pennant. I mean, the price action has basically coiled itself into a corner, and the cornered animal is either going to lash out to the upside or the downside. So the good news is you're above the 10 SMA, which is curling up. You're trying to fight that 20 SMA. So I think something's going to resolve here in the next couple of days. What you don't want to see, I would say the first closing candle, if you do it midday, I've kicked myself for doing it midday. If you can wait till the close and you have a definitively lower close than the 10 SMA, then you're back down here in this airspace with really nothing to lean on and staring probably $10 right in the face. But for the most part, I think you just want to see how this little pennant resolves, this corner. What do they do? That's an energy company, foreign. All right, let's take a look at the market. I did have a concept I wanted to talk about. I'm not exactly full on bullish up here, even though we've been holding up this range nicely for half a day now. Yeah, Australian, I saw that. What I don't like about establishing a lot of new risk right here, I've taken a lot of risk off the table. Only got a couple things. Why is that? Well, the NASDAQ has kind of been the leader in the tech, but look at this. It's full on channeling right here. Odds are it's just going to do that, right? You can see it clear as day. Look how defined this is. So I'm not throwing a bunch of risk on the table right now. Sure, we're above the flattening 5-day, and that's the other side of the coin. What it needs to do is it kind of needs to hang out here for maybe a day or two. And then if it starts to build, well, then hallelujah, we're still in a bull market. Data center, but it does mining. So I was just saying, the mining stocks, they just can't get out of their own way. But, you know, if there's AI component in there, that's different. Data centers are definitely important. There's some new names popping into this pullback scan here. Well, that's kind of what I designed the scan for right here. Look at this, you guys. Just beauty of a chart. Every time it pulls back to that 10 SMA, it tries to dig in. Is this going to be the one today? Well, like I just said on that last chart, I'll sit, maybe even put a price alert and nudge myself to say, if this thing can pop back above that 10 SMA, then we might have a decent entry here. But big caveat though, it has run over about 100%. And these are the ones that sometimes blow through and pick up that backstop real quick. So I don't necessarily trust this one. Look how it kind of tried there and it keeps getting thrown down. So it's a good example here of just because it shows up on a scan, it doesn't mean buy it. Another one has had a nice pullback, but just looking at these types of scans and these types of entries versus this type of entry, chasing a gap up after 3 green days, stocks have to breathe, and it's the hardest part when you're in them and you don't want to sell them. Sometimes I'll sell half, and if they pull back a little bit, then I'm okay with it. Maybe I reload. I did a lot of that during the nano nukes and the SMRs. Oh, look at that. Crypto is trying to get up. Let's go back to the 1 minute chart, because I think this thing will just go berserk if it takes out 140. Wait a minute. What am I missing here? I must have been looking at the wrong thing. It wasn't as close as I thought. Let's go back to the hour. This one's kind of a good view. How about that? I mean, it's a different time frame, but I'm using a 10 SMA on the hour, and it's trying to hold. That's a bit of a mess, but everything else, wicks don't count. This is why I wait for the candle to close. Then I evaluate, did the closing price stay above or below the 10 SMA? So we are definitely in momentum mode here on XRP. We got real close. Nobody wanted to be the new high, and so you pulled back quickly, and the buyers showed up again at the 10 SMA. That's where they will show up when you're in momentum mode. All right, let's take a look. So V showing below all three lines. That's not a good buy signal. I think I'm on the 15-minute chart. Yeah, it's not. It's under pressure. Good point. It's a good continuation on what I was saying earlier. It's run a long way, and once they get up here, it starts to become musical chairs. We all remember that game from the birthday party. Once that music stops, it gets ugly. So I don't trust this chart. It's come too far too fast. I would have trusted it much more back here and here, maybe here. So I wouldn't short it either. Just kind of leave it alone. What you're saying is correct. We're below the major level of health. You're fighting the current if you're below that. The moving average for the momentum came down and said, oh, no, you don't. You get back down. And it keeps throwing it, keeps hitting it on the head. So there's nothing bullish in the moment about this. Even though it shows up on here, we still have to run it through. Yeah, I'm always looking at the daily charts because you're only getting half of the picture here. You've got to look left in time and see where it's been, where it's come from, where it could go, what the worst case scenario could be. And again, the more you get parabolic, the bigger the downdrafts can come. And those are just no fun. You'd be a deer in the headlights. For me, daily chart, first and foremost, as a swing trader. And then the intraday, I'm not going to use a 5 minute. I'm going to use a 15 minute. It's just what works for me. And then more importantly, I don't keep adding new indicators on top of it. Well, I need to be in the Bollinger Bands between the diverging SMRs. That's too much. Well, I haven't talked about the 200-day. And you can see this is why I do use the 200-day. It's after the 50, nothing until 200. And this is a foundational wall. Look at how it hits the 200 SMA. And whether it's algorithms or major funds, nobody really wants to buy something after it's moved 10 days and expect it to move through there. So you start to see things slam into the upside resistance and then pull back. And then maybe, that can be an entry. But I genuinely prefer things in uptrends. And then again, what I would do, I would wait for that intraday 15-minute candle to get back above and close definitively above that 10 SMA. All right. SPY, same thing as the NASDAQ in terms we're in that channel. You're just banging into the upside of a perfect channel. So you can't really do much to get me to go long right here. Not only are we at the upside of this channel in the S&P 500, We're just knocking on the underside of the general bill of health, the 50-day SMA. There's just too many headwinds right here for me to go, oh, okay, let me start buying stuff. So that's another big one. You know, what is the general market doing? Are you buying dips in a bear market? Well, we're not in a bear market, but we're in kind of a real choppy sideways market at the moment. And that being said, you got to be contrarian. You got to be the ones that's looking to buy after 5 days of hard selling. That's the easiest way to stay in a good trade. If you're up here waiting for it to feel safe because it bounced 5 days, you're the one that's creating the liquidity for the other side. The Russell 2000, which is the small caps, way below its 50. It's always been kind of the lagger performer. That rum was doing well for me. That was a good buy this morning. And you know what? A lot of these names, they're in my wheelhouse day after day after day, and I'm just trading around them. Yeah, IWM and small caps have been out of favor. It's the NVDAs and the Teslas and the NASDAQ. And then you've got SPY, maybe the energy and the financials. Big picture, when do you think the IWM can take the lead? Well, if markets are in perfect rotation, then the weaker one is supposed to take the lead. By the way, the 200-day I was just talking about is resistance. Look how the 200-day acts as support. So giant indicator for me. Doesn't come into play much, but bigger picture, you can start to develop an idea. I don't know. I mean, this 230 level is an absolute ceiling. It's a flat 50-day SMA, and it's a round number of 230. We could get into there and just bang into that. A definitive close above 230 would probably be the answer to your question, midway. Why? But somehow I just got a feeling that this media and technology print group is going to maybe be involved in a TikTok solution. I don't know. It's super speculative. All right, I'll be with you guys. Let's see, like another 15, 12 minutes. Got a developers meeting at the top of the hour and then another one after that. And that's why I'm a swing trader. I can't be a day trader like Barry. I can't babysit these things. So active position for me, rum, what am I looking for? I'm looking to not put my hand on the sell button. That's what I'm looking to do. We've had many days of red candles. I think I would be selling myself short here and cheap and leaving a lot of money on the table if I took a profit right here. And to do that, I'm probably going to have to suffer a pullback. And I'm okay with that because bigger picture, I think I can get up to here. That's my target. Day and a half, 2 days, perfect for me. I just like to surf the wave when it looks decent and then bail out quickly. You start getting married to too many things, and before you know it, you've got 10 stories on your profit and loss and portfolio, and you're trying to manage 10 different crazy. I like to, keep it 3 to 5, 6 the most, constantly moving in and out. It takes up mental capital and literal physical capital to start falling in love with too many things. Even when you recognize they've broken, you should be able to break free and move on and use that mental capital and financial capital. It's something fresh. Okay, so good question, Dylan. Our scans, especially an alert scan, is going to be defaulted to the regular market hours. Now, what you can simply do, show you this, is you actually, I'm not going to configure it, but you can go to a new alert. And then instead of new high won't work in an alert. And what you need to do is find pre-market high. So you create a whole alert based around pre-market high. Now, there's not much to do in there, except maybe put some average daily volume so you're not getting crazy ones. But you cannot use relative volume. Relative volume won't calculate in pre-market. So you got to kind of keep them simple. And then the same goes for post-market. There's a post-market high as well. And those are for the A windows, the alert windows, the things that need an event. If you're just talking a regular top list, which will sort out every 30 seconds individually on these names, there's only one setting you need, and that is right-click time frame and make sure it's live always. If you've got it set to live during market hours, that might answer the question. But live always will keep your top lists and tree maps working pre and post. The A windows are a little bit more tricky since they're event-based. You've got to have an event that lines up with the pre or post market high. New high won't work there. Atomic. My only hold 3 stocks at a time. Favorite list is a huge. Yeah, I mean, think of it like this. And especially lately for me, literally, the T+1 is an unbelievable gift. When we started this year, my swing account and 401k, I had to wait 2 or 3 days for those settlements before I got the cash back. Now, if I don't like something, I get that cash back tomorrow. I could put it back to work quickly in something fresh. And like you, Atomic, I have a big watch list and 5 or 6 sectors within those watch. You got your AI, your quants, your nano nukes, financials. You can define them however you want, but they rotate in and out sector by sector. And if I can be nimble and only stay in 3 or 4 at a time and surf those moments of good momentum, that's really what's helped me a lot lately, is recognizing that. Whereas the first part of the year, and because of that T+3 rule, I'm like, no, just stay in this thing. You're not going to get that money back for 2 days. So that changed a lot, allowing us to recycle that money quickly. All right. Andy's reprimanding me for not giving him the wrong call this morning. You're welcome, Dylan. Is there a lot of info contained in the stock races that would show up in a tree? No, I prefer the tree maps. I don't like the stock races. And honestly, I'm a little concerned that they might take up a bit of the resources. I prefer the tree maps. It's a different way. Some people do prefer the races, but I think that might be more for lower time frame, higher frequency day traders. Okay. So yeah, personal preference midway, I would say. This one got me good today. Plug. This one's going on the shit list. I'm done. This one's gotten me a few days in a row now. It's an energy stock, and I thought maybe it'd start playing sympathy to the SMRs and the other data center, energy plays. But every day, look at all those wicks. It would sucker you in and then just reverse back to lows. And so, done with you, Plug. All right. Another 5 minutes or so. So if somebody was sitting on a question, you better do it now because I got to leave in 5 minutes. No, I don't trade options, Hutch. You know, and I kick myself for not. I literally should be telling Schwab right now, give me your paperwork, you know, just in case I do want to fill out options. I don't have a good answer for you. I really should, because I think I could manage my leverage and buying power a little bit better. It's probably why you're bringing that up, and I agree with you. Um, it's probably the nudge I needed to maybe at least enable my account to do so. I've just always been a commons guy, but I do love I do love trading the levered ETFs like FAS and TNA and TZA and SQQQ. I do love those AGQ for triple for gold. I'll play those. So I kind of get my leverage fix in some of these levered ProShare Ultras, but I don't have a good answer for you as to why I don't have an options account. I'm always been maybe this is another good. I've always been a visual guy, as you can tell. I'm extremely visual with my charts and my indicators, and I can just pull up something and I can see options. To me requires more math, and I'm not a math person. I'm a visual person. So honestly, I think that's why I've just avoided it. It's a whole different brain set than I'm normally working with. Good question, though. I usually use the web-based platform. No, I'm using the Windows version. I find the web-based just doesn't work as well as I would want. Now I do have that dashboard. This is a separate testing account under Brad. And let's see. Yeah, I can't make money in the old money machine. But this is what's coming. This is our new version. A year from now, most everything will look like this on the web. So to answer your question, typically on explosive winners, the thing with explosive winners is it can very easily, you know, turn into that chasing, you know, new highs after something's already been up 30%. I don't necessarily have a favorite channel. If you haven't explored the new Market Explorer, you know, if you right click here, there's some interesting setups that are in here, like pattern recognition, the bull flag. You know, everybody's heard of the bull flag. You can type that in and you can see daily charts that look like they've got some flags and they want to move higher. Always some good stuff in here. I mean, you could say, oh, that looks good. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that WSM from the bull flag and I'm going to right click it at new highs, because that's a real shallow, nice cup and saucer there. I'm sorry, cup and handle. You could get a nice day trade or a good push through there if it breaks out. So I don't necessarily like the channel bars. There's not much in there that I use personally. I just want to try and help people, maybe help them go through names and symbols and weed out the bad stuff and hone in on the good stuff, and even more so do what I just did there, set a price alert to alert you. So it's a 1-2 process. There's really nothing on here that'll tell you to pull it up and buy it now, other than the AI Holly. If you want to look at some of the AI Holly trades, those are designed to be in the moment. That blue line right there on Spire worked out pretty nicely. Hey, look at that. Before I go here, how about that? Holly gave you the idea at 1538. You're long, you're long. Oh, wait, Steve said to make sure you don't let it close below the 10 SMA. Hey, thank you. I'm still in the game and we're at highs. So I'll probably sign off with that note, guys. Thanks for everybody coming in and all your questions and the views. Andy will be in, I believe, tomorrow. You can get the double chart layout. If you're looking for this one, I'll give it to you right before I head out here. This is my daily chart. And it should stay in there, even though I leave. Once I leave the live stream, that should stay in there. That's my daily chart. Anybody that wants it. And my intraday chart, I'll give that to if somebody came late. My 15-minute chart and my simple 2 moving averages. You can have at them right there. All right, guys, I got to run. Good session. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.